Welcome back. Well, the markets are a little under pressure as we speak. Actually, we've breached that 24,700 odd mark, and the broader markets actually have come in for a harder knock in trade. But as promised, let's get chatting with Monsoon Pabrai, the managing partner at Drew Investment Management, who's raising an SPV to invest in the National Stock Exchange. Well, Monsoon, welcome to the show, and thanks a lot for joining in. I've had the privilege of interviewing Mr. Monish Pabrai, who's your father, and we've had good chats in the past as well, good on and off record chats as well about markets and other things. So good to have you on the show, Monsoon. But Monsoon, you put out a tweet yesterday, and what you mentioned out there is that the unlisted NSE is one of your top investment ideas. Though we have the listed entity out here, which is BSE, that's been making an effort to grab some market share, particularly in the options market. According to you, what kind of a multiple should NSE trade at? Because as of now, it's trading at half the multiple of the BSE. So according to you, what multiple should it trade at? Please go ahead.
Yeah, so exchange businesses across the globe, they tend to trade between 20 to 30 times earnings, but they grow much slower than both Indian exchanges. And I think everyone should do their own homework, but the BSE trades at, I think, over 75 times earnings today. And the NSE trades at around 30 times. Should the gap be this wide? I don't think so. What should be the relative valuation? I think that's up to the individual investor.
Monsoon, hi. But as someone who manages money, what could be the expected return scenarios in NSE, base case, bull, and bear case?
Yeah, so on a base case, it would be less than a 20% return over every year. And the NSE pays a healthy dividend of about 5% on top of that. On a bull case, after COVID, we saw over 40% growth year over year. But I think over a long-term view, we have an incredible compounder here.
No, absolutely. And I think, Monsoon, good to have you with us here. Prashant this side. Famous last name, and glad to be speaking with you here, and hope we can do one with father-daughter at some point.
That would be nice. Yes.
So you said you began by saying the international exchanges trade at what multiple, Monsoon?
20 to 30 times.
20 to 30 times. But typically, for example, in the US, right? Is there an exchange as dominant as the NSE? No, right? I mean, there is one. I mean, it's much more disaggregated.
Yes, it's not with as aggressive of share that NSE has in India. We have the NASDAQ and the New York Stock Exchange. For comparison, last year, the NASDAQ raised $23 billion in IPOs with less than 200 IPOs, and the NSE raised $19.9 billion through IPOs with over 300 IPOs. So I mean, we're seeing strong engagement in both the US and the Indian market, but I think all across the globe and people outside of India are very bullish on the Indian story and are very excited about the NSE as an exciting investment opportunity, especially because of the discount to the BSE that's showing up right now.
There are over 1 lakh shareholders of the NSE already, and there are 1 lakh investors hoping that what you say is going to come true whenever it is listing. And listing people have been waiting for it for a long time. It will happen. It's inevitable, but we don't know when exactly. Just one question before we sort of talk more. Are you worried at all at some of the regulatory tightening we've seen here in India? Options has been a hugely profitable business for exchanges. But over the last 12 months or so, we've seen the regulator coming down. I mean, essentially trying to protect retail investors, lowering the level of speculation. Lots of rules have come through, I'm sure you've noticed. Does that in any way, in a durable way, lower the trajectory of growth for NSE now as compared to before these regulations?
Yeah, so while the recent SEBI initiatives do try to limit the amount of F&O activity per customer, I believe this is beneficial for the Indian retail individual. And I think the regulator is making the right steps here. Near term, we're going to see some headwinds, and we've seen it in the most recent earnings. But I believe that the increasing share of domestic participation in the market will outpace the decline that we may see in trading activity per customer. And I think earnings can grow to compound and eventually settle at a much higher level versus today. What we're seeing is since 2022, 25 million brokerage accounts are added per year in India domestically, which is huge.
All right. So, Monsoon, you believe that, in fact, the penetration aspect and the financialization theme could offset any kind of these regulatory moves as well. Get that. It's all going to be about earnings from here on. Monsoon, but I wanted to ask you, currently NSE is unlisted. And when it lists, the probability is that maybe it gets a higher multiple. But what if it doesn't list? As of now, it trades at roughly around 30 times. International exchanges trade at around 20 to around 30 times or thereabouts. BSE has gone through the roof at 75 times. Even if it doesn't list, do you believe there is cushion out there for investors? In an unlisted market, you have, the exchange with 95% of the F&O market share, of cash market share, and the options, it's around 80%. Do you think at 30 times there is cushion, even if it stays unlisted for a couple of years more?
Yes, I do. Conservatively, it grows at 20% a year, 25% a year. At 30 times earnings, I think that's perfectly acceptable. And I think that gives us some good bottom side protection for the NSE to take its time to list. I have total comfort investing in the NSE, knowing that it may be a couple more years before the IPO happens.
Got it.
So in case someone's interested in investing via the SPV, it's just some questions. What's the minimum investment ticket size? Is there a lock-in? And what would be the management fees or the carried interest terms?
So these are things that we're actually only supposed to disclose privately to investors, but this fund is actually not marketed to Indians. This fund is marketed to those outside of India looking to invest in the Indian market that have difficulty investing in the Indian market, and frankly are excited to take a very aggressive single bet that they can position size themselves. Yeah.
All right. But Monsoon, the last time I spoke to Mr. Pabrai, he was telling me, Nigel, I believe there are other markets that are way more attractive than the Indian markets, at least at that point of time. From the money that you manage, what kind of exposure do you have to India? And what's your view on the Indian markets? Because yes, there is financialization. They're going to be outgrowing everyone else. It seems leadership is solid out here. But, how do you view the Indian markets? And if you could give us a brief exposure.
I'm very bullish on the Indian markets. 30% of my portfolio is Indian equities, and another 10% is actually the National Stock Exchange. So it's an aggressive bet on India. My first job out of college was working at a India-focused hedge fund, and I spent many months in Mumbai meeting management teams. I think valuations in India, we're used to seeing richer than we see sometimes around the world. And this is where my father and I have our favorite debates at home about what we're willing to pay for growth rates. But I think you can make the case for many high-quality Indian investments that are long-term compounders, where on certain days or months of the year trade at a discount to what I think is their intrinsic value.
All right. Monsoon, I lose most of the debates to my little daughter at home. And I'm hoping that you win as well, because Monish has not been very, very optimistic about prospects. We'll have to get him on and then, in fact, understand what's the latest view. Prashant, you want to close in?
No, just wishing you all the best of luck. Monsoon, thank you very much for waking up very early and doing this. Appreciate it, and I wish you all the best of luck as you continue down your investment journey. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll take a quick commercial break here. We're going to come back and we'll do a quick dealing room check. Markets are down about 255 points. Nimesh is going to tell us what's the buzz in just a bit from now. Stay tuned.